following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello, everyone. This is Rob Deininger with Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and I'm here with Jack Degraw, and we are talking Yankees baseball. How you doing, Jack?
Good. How are you tonight, Robert?
Not too bad. Did you happen to catch any of the game today?
Well, I turned it on, and I seen the Yankees were, pummeling the Orioles again. And
yeah.
So, it was another good win for the Yankees, and the Rays lost today, so the lead is, I believe, 10 games. So,
we're running away with the division, and last year we struggled against Baltimore, and this year in 19 games we're 17-2. We've hit 61 home runs against them and batted over 300 as a team. We really feasted on their pitching.
Yeah, I think they won the last 16 games in a row against the Orioles, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, the Orioles pitching is just it's terrible.
Yeah, and with the Rays losing, they're 10.5 out, and I'm not sure if Boston. I think Boston played today, but I'm not sure if they won or lost. But they were 17.5 out coming into today. So the Yankees are really just running away with the division.
Yeah, I mean, it's another thing that the Rays are playing outstanding baseball. They're 13-4 in their last 17 games, and I think they've lost a half game. So
yeah, it's amazing. The Yankees, with the win today, put the Yankees 40 games over 500.
Yeah, I mean, who would think this was all the injuries and look at the guys starting for the Yankees. I mean, half these guys weren't even on the team in opening day.
Right. And Happ, I mean, I think Happ pitched today. I'm not sure who started for them. But he's 10-7 with the 5.40 ERA. I think if the Yankees, when they get in the postseason, might just go with the three-man rotation. And if Sevi comes back, maybe use him out of the bullpen.
Yeah, that's a possibility. We were talking off air. Severino threw on Monday. I think he threw 28 pitches. Betances threw 25. And Severino is going to throw again tomorrow, Thursday, off the mound. And there's a good possibility, later next week he could be throwing a simulated game or, getting a rehab. So he's coming along good. And Betances should be back before that because relievers only have to, if they get up to 25, 30 pitches, they'll be good to go.
Yeah, I think I saw an article that said they expect Betances to be back up before Sevi, but we also just recently got Loaiza back up, and he'll be nice to have coming out of the bullpen or spot starting.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't get in any games against the Orioles, but there's a good chance, we might see him, tomorrow against Cleveland.
Yeah, and what's his name? Domingo Germán got his 16th win, and I think that's the most wins in the majors, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, he's been throwing his. I believe he might have threw 7 innings. I don't know if it was yesterday or the last start, but it looks like the Yankees are not even going to be too concerned with the innings pitched. But
yeah, he's up to 116 right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's been terrific. Maybe if they, they got the big lead now, so maybe, they might skip him a start or two. But, he's been fantastic all year. Yeah,
it's like if I were to have my rotation for the postseason, I would have Tanaka start game 1. And, depending on how the series plays out, I'll probably have the Domingo Germán pitch game 2, depending on where the game's at.
Yeah, that's the way it looks like now. I guess the only race now is you want the best record in the league in case you wind up meeting the Astros or in Cleveland. You'll have the final game at home.
Yeah, and I think Yankees have a 2.5 game lead over Houston for the best record in American League.
Yeah, I mean, the Astros are loaded, and they've been playing good ball, but the Yankees have been lucky, playing the Orioles. That's, that'll always build up the confidence.
Yeah, and we got 4 games with Cleveland, who I think's been playing pretty good ball, right?
Yeah, they've really picked it up. I mean, they took over first place the other day. I believe the Twins, overtook them. I didn't see the results today, but the Indians were like 6-7 games back of the Twins 4 or 5 weeks ago. So they've been playing terrific baseball too. Yeah,
I'm looking at the standings right now. It looks like Cleveland's a half game out or a half game behind Minnesota. But yeah, they took over first there for a day, and they've been playing great baseball. So we could have a good series on our hands.
Yeah, this will be more of a challenge. You get 2 hot teams going against each other who will probably meet in the playoffs.
And by the pitching schedule, it looks like Sabathia will pitch the 4th game for the Yankees against Cleveland.
Well, we'll see how he's coming back from the injury, and I mean usually when he comes back from the disabled list, he picks it up a little bit. So we'll have to see how it goes, but you really don't know with CC at this point because it's still up in the air.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to go with an opener for the game 1, but then we got Tanaka for game 2, and Tanaka's coming off a great start. Hopefully he can keep that rolling. Yeah,
he looked terrific the other day. I mean, he's had 7 or 8 bad starts in a row, and just showed you, the other day against a tough Toronto team. I mean, there's a team that the Yankees are going to. They're going to give the Yankees some great baseball in the next 2 or 3 seasons because they got terrific hitters. All these young kids are.
Yeah,
I don't know.
3 of them are sons of Hall of Famers.
Yeah, I don't know if you happen to see the at bat. I think it was Sunday when Guerrero Jr. got up against Chapman and they had a 13 pitch at bat. It was fantastic. It was just fun to watch. I mean, those kids weren't intimidating. I mean, Bichette got in there and Biggio, and they just battled Chapman left and right, and Chapman was throwing 100 miles an hour.
Wow. I mean, that Guerrero Jr., you could tell he is going to be a great hitter for years to come. And I remember Bo Bichette. He was a great hitter in Colorado, a great player for Colorado, and Biggio, he was just he was one of my favorite players when he was with Houston all those years.
It's interesting. Dante Bichette Jr., Dante's son, was the number 1 pick for the Yankees, and he used to play down here. And Dante would come to all the games and stuff, and his mom and his younger brother used to come to a lot of the games. And it's hard to believe, that young kid maybe from 6 or 7 years ago, is in the big leagues now and is just playing fantastic. Dante Bichette Jr. is with Washington now, and he's in Double-A, so he's still, he's still plugging away.
That's good. And Ken Griffey Jr., his father used to bring him to the ballpark as a child all the time, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember when Ken Griffey was a great player for the Reds, and I mean he played for the Yankees for a few seasons. And he used to bring him to Yankee Stadium.
I could still remember when that game where both of them homered in the same game, father and son, with Seattle.
Yeah. There was talk of Toronto bringing up Guerrero, matching him and his son up for the last game of the year and stuff like that.
His father could hit anything. I mean, you could bounce a ball and he could still hit it. I mean, Vlad was a great hitter.
Yeah, he was something special. I mean, he was a great outfielder. He had a terrific arm, but he didn't worry about the strike zone. He was if he liked it, he'd swing at it, and 9 times out of 10, he'd hit it.
Yeah, my dad said the best bad ball hitter he ever saw was Yogi Berra.
Yeah, Vlad was right in there with Yogi.
But yeah, getting back this Yankee team. Are you surprised by Gio Urshela? I mean, he's batting over 330.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the year we were talking. I mean, he hadn't had a lot of chances in the big leagues, and when he has, he really hasn't performed nothing like he is now. And the question was, as the season goes on, would he eventually, hit a slump and, come back to earth? But, I mean, as the seasons went on, he's just gotten better and better. And, he's been outstanding all season.
Yeah, the most at-bats he ever had prior to this year was 288, and that was in 2015 with the Indians. He's had 3 stints in the majors with 2 with Cleveland, 1 with Toronto, and this is his 4th stint in the majors with the Yankees, and he's getting a chance to play every day, and he's showing you what he can do.
Well, I mean, Andujar might get in the situation like, Wally Pipp got with Lou Gehrig.
Yeah, and spring training will be very interesting. You could have a battle for who's going to play third, because I mean, and then you got DJ LeMahieu. I mean, you got to play him somewhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of decisions to be made because Andujar had a super year last year. Gio's been fantastic this year, and then there was even talk of, okay, well maybe they could make Andujar a first baseman. Well, you put Andujar at first, you got Voit, and you got LeMahieu could play there. And if you put Andujar to try to teach him how to play the outfield, you got 6 or 7 outfielders. So I mean, there's a lot of tough decisions to be made.
Yeah, and I pretty much wrote off Brett Gardner, but lately Brett Gardner's been hitting the ball extremely well.
Yeah, I mean he's really picked it up. He's raised his average like 25, 30 points. The last 10 days or so. So, he's still. It looked like he wasn't going to be, with the Yankees after this season. But the way he's playing right now, they might bring him back for another year.
Yeah, in the last 30 games, he's batting .286. He's got 2 homers, 9 RBIs, 12 runs scored. I mean, he's getting on base and helping drive in runs. I mean, he's really picked it up.
Yeah, I mean, they got a lot of decisions. You got Maven playing outstanding, Talkman, and I don't know what you're going to do with all these guys. I mean, there's going to be some unhappy players. Yeah,
and what's his name? Aaron Judge. He's in the midst of a pretty tough slump in his last 20 games. I think he's batting 158 with only 1 home run and 4 RBIs.
Well, I mean, earlier in the season, he had an oblique injury. And, when you're a baseball player, everything you do, when you run and you throw or you hit, it just, you have to, you torque your core. And it's something you don't really recover from because I remember hearing Carlos Beltran, he had it one year. And he said it never went away till the off season. And if you look, at Judge's approach to the plate, he's not pulling anything. He just seems to, want to hit everything to right field. And maybe because, he's not 100%, the only time he'll recover is, over the holidays because, I think he's afraid to, try to pull the ball because you don't want to get injured again.
Yeah, they were showing you highlights of his at-bats in the last 20 games, and it seems to be he's leaving a lot of pitches over the plate, and he's just letting them go by, and he's swinging more towards the pitches that are more in and or down and in on him.
Yeah, it just seems like, his swing now looks like it's mechanical. It doesn't look like, he's driving the ball. He's getting his hips into it, and it just seems like, he's still effective. He still gets on base and, gets walks and gets some, hits once in a while, but he's just not, anywhere near the same player,
Yeah, because I think it was like 43.6% of his outs are on ground balls. So he's not getting any lift on his swings.
Yeah, I mean, he's really struggling, and the injury he had, you have like if it's a grade 1, you can rest up for a week. Grade 2, which he might, he had is 3 to 7 weeks, and if you get grade 3, when you completely pull the muscle, you could be out for a long time. So I think he's not 100% recovered from that injury.
Yeah, and Gleyber Torres, who's having a heck of a season, he's been playing well despite being a little banged up himself. I think he had a little bit of a core issue and I think maybe a wrist issue. But I mean, he's got 26 home runs, 69 RBIs. He's batting .282. I mean, and he hit I think 13 home runs against the Orioles this year.
Yeah, I mean, they DH'd him today, so I think Robert would, they're getting that. They got a big lead, and you might see, some guys, get a few more days off, to recover from, these minor injuries.
And in September call-ups, do you see anyone that we might not have heard of being called up who might surprise us?
Well, I think we might see, a couple pitchers from AAA, because they've been running the shuttle the last week. But, it's really hard to say with all the injuries the Yankees have. I mean, I haven't heard anything about Luke Voigt. Have you got any update on him? Or?
I heard that they're hoping he just needs rest. They really want to avoid a surgery, and they're going to, I think, reevaluate him in a week or two, see how he feels. He's been doing a little bit of light jogging, I heard.
Yeah, because, I mean, it seems like we were at that point, 2 weeks ago. And, I haven't heard any update, so it's like, they're still, at square one.
Yeah, it's weird. The Yankees have been very hush-hush and secretive when it comes to the injuries this season. Usually they've been more upfront in the past. Yeah,
I mean, Edward Encarnacion, I haven't heard anything about him. Stanton, I haven't heard much about him.
I mean, because Encarnacion, he fractured his wrist?
Yeah, I mean, Robert, I haven't heard any updates on him in, almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, because initially they said he'd be out 6 to 8 weeks, and on sports radio today, they're talking as if he's going to be in the part of the roster come postseason. But I don't know if you can heal that quickly from a broken wrist or a fractured wrist. Yeah,
the scary thing is, Judge is banged up a little, and then you get Stanton back. And then you're getting Encarnacion back, maybe they'll be ready for the playoffs. But if they don't have a significant amount of bats, I mean, that's a lot of strikeouts. I mean, if you've noticed the last week, the Yankees don't strike out as much. They used to strike out 10, 12 times a game. And in the last week or so, 10 days, they've cut that in half. So, and they're still scoring runs.
And another guy I haven't heard anything on is Aaron Hicks as far as his elbow.
Yeah, that's another that's another walking wound, and I haven't heard anything.
Yeah,
I heard Greg Bird, was still he was running on the treadmill and he was in a walking boot, but he's not coming back this year either, I don't think.
No, I mean, he just I mean, you got to feel bad for the guy. I mean, he just can't stay healthy, and it appears Hicks is one of those players, too, who's a little bit injury prone. I mean, it seems every year he's on the DL once or twice for something, and this year he's been on the DL several times.
Well, I mean, that's a reason, that maybe the Yankees didn't trade, Clint Frazier. Clint can play a little bit of center field, and Tauchman's, he's an excellent outfielder. He's one of the few guys who can play all three positions and be good at it. So, Hicks is still up in the air because he seems to be, injury prone.
Yeah, and from what I hear, Frazier's playing. He likes playing center field. He says that's his most comfortable position. But they say he's been improving his play in left field down in AAA, which is good to hear. And he's raised his batting average.
Yeah, I mean, on defense, you can always make improvements to that. You just get the coaches to hit you fly balls, and then, you get him to run on the balls of his feet instead of his heels. That's something that could be worked on. So I never looked at his defense as a major issue. I mean, he had some lousy games in New York, but for the most part, I thought he did pretty well. I just hope he don't get labeled as a terrible outfielder, because no matter how bad some of these guys are, they're major leaguers. They're going to catch 95% of the balls.
Yeah, and he only looked horrible. I mean, in right field and left field, he looked all right. I mean, he was shaky at times, but overall he was pretty good in left field. And I think the concussions from the year before had a little bit of effect on him playing the outfield. But I think once he has a season under his belt, I think that will go away. Yeah,
I mean, what he went through last year, it's got to, mess with your head a little bit. You get close to the wall, and you don't know what's going to happen.
And I'm gonna pull up the. I know we play Cleveland for 4 games. Then we go to a West Coast trip, 3 against Oakland, 3 against the Dodgers, and 3 against Seattle.
Yeah, despite the Rays playing incredible baseball, Oakland's still hanging in there in the wild card race. I believe they're only like 3 games out. But, the rest of the teams, the Angels have pretty much fell out of it. The Rangers have pretty much fell out of it. So it just seems to be, you got the Indians, you got the Rays, you got the A's, and, the Red Sox are still battling to get even, a chance at the playoffs, but they're falling by the wayside pretty quick.
Yeah, the Red Sox, they're 7.5 back of the wild card spot, and Oakland's only 2 games back.
Yeah, I mean, Oakland's a small market, but they always, they're like the Rays. They just always seem to, be competitive.
Yeah, I mean, year in and year out, I mean, they always seem to be right there in the mix. Yeah,
I mean, hopefully, I like to see some meaningful games. You just don't want to always see like, the Yankees and the Red Sox. I mean, the Yankees and the Orioles and the Yankees and the Mariners. You want to see some, some good solid baseball and stuff.
I'm looking forward to the series with the Dodgers for 3 games out in L.A.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. And I think we mentioned last week the Yankees are going to wear black uniforms.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I can't wait to see that.
And did you happen to check out next year they're playing the White Sox where they filmed the Field of Dreams?
Oh, yeah. I think the seating capacity is going to be 8,000, but that ought to be something special.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting just to see them, build the ballpark and stuff. And I mean, I'm sure they'll take, they'll do something with coming out of the corn and in the outfield. So it could be a great event.
I think center field, from home plate to center field, is something like 260 feet, something like that. So I mean, there could be a lot of balls flying out of there.
Yeah, or else they'll be cutting a lot of crops for the next year.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was fake news when I first saw it, but no, they're really going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the same thing. So I mean, it'd be interesting to see how they build the outfield fence and what they're going to do with the dimensions of the ballpark. I mean, that'll be as entertaining as the game.
Yeah, Yeah, and I was going to say, do you think Don Mattingly might get fired from the Marlins after this year?
Well, I mean, the thing is, Robert, it's a tough call because the Marlins they're just bad.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know, you know, who could really, you know, who would want to coach? I mean, who want to manage down there?
I know.
I mean, it's really, you know, it's a bad situation. I mean, as a Yankee fan, I'd like to see Mattingly stay down there and at least, you know, try to get some, you know, continuity going. And, you know, but they're really, that's really a sad sack franchise. And I mean, you know, I don't know if the end's in, you know, where they're going or what they're going to do, but it is just a bad situation.
Yeah, because I do think Mattingly is a really good coach, and I just feel, you know, I feel so. It's just unfortunate that he's coaching a team that just has no shot whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, every year you go in and you're hoping not to lose 100 games, and you know, you know, with Jeter and stuff, it's going to take like another 4 or 5 years, you know, just to get competitive. And the argument could have been made when they first got that team. You know, they had Yelich, they had Stanton, and they had a couple other guys off the top of my head I can't remember. You know, if they'd have made 2 or 3 more moves, you know, they would have been in wild card contention, because the last year they won 77 games there. You make a few moves and win 8, 10 more games, you know, you get back in the playoffs.
And they have a lease with the city for what, another 20 years or something like that? Or is that the Rays?
Well, the Rays are stuck down here to 2027. I think the Marlins is even like you were saying. I think the Marlins is still many years down the road. So I don't think they're going to get out of that contract for, you know, for a while.
Because I thought when Jeter's ownership group bought the Marlins, they promised that they weren't going to sell off the team, like the players, and then that's exactly what they did. And there are rumors that they want to move the team. Yeah,
I mean, well, they've had some, you know, they beat the Indians, I think, in '97, and then they beat the Yankees in 2003, the Marlins. And right after that happened, both times they just ripped the team up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why they did. I mean, that's crazy. And those are some good teams they had.
Yeah, I mean, ownership has screwed the fans, you know, on numerous occasions down there. So I think, you know, give the fans a lot of credit. They're not supporting. They're not coming out to the games because I checked last night. They had the Dodgers down there, and they had like 8,500 people. So,
wow.
You know, I don't even know if they'll get 800,000 in attendance this year. So, you know, I give the fans a big shout out. They,
You
know, if you don't like your product, don't go to the games.
Yeah. And do you think Aaron Boone's a lock for Manager of the Year this year with all the injuries he's had to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's done a great job, and you know, the analytical staff, everything's went well for them, and you know, it's just been unbelievable what they've been able to accomplish and stuff. And you know, I'd like to see him, you know, with Rothschild, I'd like to see him maybe, you know, bring up Tommy Phelps from AAA and have him work a little bit with the pitchers because, you know, just to help Rothschild out a little bit.
Yeah, because the starting pitcher's ERA is pretty high.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty decent recently. You know, the Stars have come in, Paxton, they'll pitch their 5 or 6 innings, give 2 or 3 runs up, and that'll at least keep you in the game. But, you know, you look at the individual stats for the starting pitchers, and you figure, how can this team be 40 games over 500?
I know. I mean, Domingo Germán's 16-2, but other than that, I mean, like Paxton's 8-6, Sabathia 5-6, Tanaka 8-6, Happ I think's 10-7. But I mean, they're right around 500.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't watch the games or know what's going on, you just see the records. You know, you figure, well, what are they like? what are they, 60 and 55 at this point?
Yeah.
See the way they are, and all these guys coming up from AAA, coming out of nowhere, and just performing. It's a great story.
And that pitcher they signed who played for the Rockies, what's his name?
Octavio?
Yeah,
Activino. Yeah, his earned run average is like 1.70.
Yeah, I mean he's been incredible, and what's his name? Green. He's been pitching great lately. Chad Green.
Yeah, I mean Britton's picked it up. He's like 2.17. He's pitched, and Chapman's really done. He has a hiccup, but he has a hiccup every year. But I notice his velocity's getting up there too. So he's throwing a bunch of pitches over 100. So he's back on course too.
And Tommy Canale, he's had a bounce back year as well.
Yeah, and hopefully they get Betances in the mix, and who knows, Robert? If they get in the postseason, maybe they'll ask some of those starters just to throw 4 innings.
Yeah.
Have him throw 3 or 4 innings and just bring in the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, and if Severino could come back and have anything to his pitches, I mean, he could be really effective coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah. You want to mention anything about the minor leagues, Robert? Or
anything that you want to talk about?
Well, I'll just give a couple of quick things. The Scranton Yankees, they're in first place. They're ahead by like 4 games with 20 to go. Trenton's already clinched a playoff spot for AA, and off the top of my mind, Clark Schmidt is with Tampa, and he was the number 1 pick a couple years ago. He's 4-5. He's pitched like 65 innings, and he's got an earned run average of 3.65. Anthony Seager, the catcher, he's with Charleston, 20-year-old kid. He was number 1 pick last year. He's hitting like 175 and 100 at bats. And the kid this year is in the rookie league, Anthony Volpe. He's with Pulaski. They're in first place. There's 36 and 17. He's a second baseman. He's hitting 215. Kyle Holder, who was a draft pick for the Yankees, number 1 pick a few years ago, he's hitting 276 in AA. He's got a terrific glove, and he's got like 40 extra base hits. So, he's coming in the form too.
And how about Estevan Florial? I know he's struggled this year, but he's been picking it up lately.
Yeah, I believe he's hitting 235, and he's got a lot of strikeouts. I think he's got over 80 strikeouts and about 240 at bats. He's still a few years away. I mean, he needs some work. Hopefully, they'll get him in AA for a few games, and coming in the next spring, we'll take it from there. But I still think he's a couple years away if he's not, a trade chip at some point.
Yeah, because when he was this past spring training, he was one of the guys that stood out. He was actually having a great spring training until he got hurt.
Yeah, it's a shame. I was at the game. He got hurt. He hit the wall in center field. What happened in the spring down here in Florida, the wind is blowing out a gale. They're like 20, 25-mile gale winds, and he was playing center field, and they hit a ball to center, just kept going and going and going. And, he hit his elbow against the wall, and, he got a bad injury. But got a lot of talent, but, he's still got some trouble recognizing pitches, and he has trouble hitting the curveball, but who doesn't?
And even though Mike Ford is with the Yankees right now, he was having a great year down at AAA, and they also got another first baseman down there who DHs a lot, Brian McBroom, who's batting .320, and scouts say he's going to get an opportunity in the major leagues. It's just going to be somewhere else.
Yeah, I remember him down here with the Dunedin Blue Jays. he's hit over 20 home runs on 3 or 4 occasions, and he's not only a power hitter, he's a good hitter. You know, he's up almost 290 for his career average. And the Yankees got this other kid, Trey Armbury. He went to school down here in St. Pete, and he's got 20 home runs, and he's an outfielder. So there's a chance, he should get a shot in the big leagues at some point too.
And how's Theo Estrada doing? I know he's been hot lately.
Well, they actually brought him up today.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, he played second base today. He went 0 for 3, but he played today, and they brought him up. But I don't have the stats right in front of me at this point, but it's nice to see him get a shot. He was terrific when he come up the first time. So.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at his. So he batted .264 with 3 home runs and 11 RBIs in 26 games for the Yankees this year so far.
Yeah, I mean, when they had all the injuries, he come up and he more than hold his own. That was good because I believe he's the kid who got shot in Venezuela a couple of years ago. It looked like his career or even his life was 50-50. So it's nice to see that's a great story.
Yeah, and I was extremely high on Tyler Wade a few years ago. I thought he was going to be like a super utility player, and he does pretty well down in the minor leagues. But it seems every time he has a stint with the big club, he struggles in the major leagues.
Yeah, I think there's another guy. I think he'll be around like 10, 12 years in the major leagues. But I think with the Yankees, it's not going to happen. So maybe they can package somebody this winter and hopefully, upgrade the pitching.
Yeah. And do you know when Davy Garcia makes his next start?
I think it'll be sometime Friday or Saturday. I keep saying, I think at some point they're going to shut him down because, it's going to be an innings issue. And at this point, I mean, he's already showed what he could do.
Yeah.
He's made great strides this year. And I think the best thing is maybe give him another start or two and just, invite him to spring training and see how he does, in the spring.
Yeah, because I was surprised to learn when he got promoted to AAA that the baseballs were different. They're the same kind of balls they use in the major leagues, and it's taken him a little while to get adjusted to it.
Yeah, I mean there's a difference. The ball's a little more slick. The seams are different. So a lot of guys when they come up, when they used to come up to the big leagues, they used to have control problems. And, a lot of times they say it was nerves, but, the ball was different and, they had trouble gripping it. But, you're not going to come up to the major league and a pitcher says, well, I can't grip the ball up here. Well, what are they going to tell you? Go back to the minors end. You can grip the ball there.
Yeah. And so, and part of me likes the home runs that I'm seeing, but there's just being way too many home runs being hit in today's game. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems to be like, it's home run derby.
Yeah.
And it's just like they wait for the home run all the time. And, I mean, you don't mind it some games, but once in a while, you like to see a 2-1 game, a 3-2 game. They bunt the runners over and hit and run. You like to see some, old-time baseball. You just don't want to see, bang, bang, bang all the time and strikeouts. It gets kind of monotonous.
Yeah, because I see guys who when they hit the ball, it looks like they just hit a fly, a lazy fly, but the ball just keeps on going out. It's just amazing how the ball's jumping off the bats. Yeah, but
I think it's going to stay that way because this new age of fans, that's what they that's what they want to see.
And the thing that bothers, I also hate the shift. I think if you're a second baseman, you can't go past the bat, you can't go past the bag, second base on the left side, and if you're a shortstop, you can't go past second base on the right side. I think you got to play your position. I mean, of course, you can move, but just not to a huge extent.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either. And now in the Atlantic League, they have they have machines making calling balls and strikes.
Oh yeah.
And then they have, if the pitcher throws a wild pitch or throws the ball gets past the catcher, no matter what the count is, the batter can run the first.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That is crazy. And another thing, Robert, did you see the other day the schedule's out for next year?
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit, I didn't.
Yeah. Get this. The first game is March 26th.
Oh, wow. That's way too early.
I mean, this year it was the 28th, which was early. But this year it's the 26th, and I think the Yankees go down to Baltimore to hit 4 or 5 homers. And then they come back, I think April 2nd, they play Toronto at the stadium. But, it's just out of hand. I mean, when are pitchers and catchers going to report for spring training? February 10th, 11th? I mean, it just starts earlier and earlier every year.
It's amazing. I mean, they got the pitchers are on strict pitch counts. I mean, I can remember a game with Al Leiter where he threw over 200 pitches. I think he was a member of the Yankees. Yeah, he threw like 217 pitches or something. I think Dallas Green might have been the manager.
Yeah, I remember that game. I was actually at that game.
No kidding.
And yeah, he had him throw like 150 some pitches. And what happened, Robert? It was cold that night. It was like 48 degrees, and it was in the 40s, and he just left him in. And I mean, he won the game 9-6, but I think Leiter, he suffered injuries for years because of that game. Dallas Green was the old school. You get on the friggin' mound and you pitch till your arm falls off. But it hurt Leiter's career.
Yeah, because I remember Al Leiter telling a story how he kept looking over at the dugout like, you gonna get me or not,
Yeah, it like I say, it was like a late April. It was a midweek game, and I think it was the Twins. And he won the game, I believe, 9-6. Balboni, I think, hit a grand slam or something. But he just left him out there, and he got hurt soon after that, and it hurt his career for a couple of years.
I can remember Steve Balboni. I used to love his stance. He used to hold that bat real close to his chest, the handle.
Yeah, and he went to Kansas City, and I believe he won a World Series title, and he had the Royals home run record for a long time.
No kidding.
I think he hit 35 home runs one year, but he had 3 or 4 really good seasons in Kansas City, and I think one year in the minor leagues with the Yankees, he had close to 50 homers. They used to say he was built like a condominium.
Another guy that I liked growing up, who I caught at the tail end, was Dave Kingman. I think he played for the Mets for a few years. Yeah,
he actually played with the Yankees. I always get to 77 and 78, but they brought Kingman in for the month of September with the Yankees, maybe the last 2 weeks of the season, and he actually hit 4 or 5 home runs. But he was a pitcher at USC, so he had a terrific arm. But he was with the Giants and the Mets and the Cubs and Oakland, the Yankees. He played for almost everybody, and he had about 450 homers for his career.
Yeah.
And the last year, I believe he hit about 30 homers and had 90 RBIs with Oakland, and he was a free agent, and many believe he got blackballed because they didn't want to see him hit 500 homers, because if you hit 500 homers back then, you were going to get in the Hall of Fame. So they didn't want Kingman to get in the Hall of Fame. So, he got a big cash settlement, I believe, because of collusion.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot of guys like that who are borderline Hall of Famers as far as home runs, just below 500 home runs. I think Fred McGriff finished his career with, like 493?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a guy, he should be in the Hall of Fame because he was a terrific hitter all around. And there was a Yankee, farmhand, and it makes you wonder. I mean, if the Yankees would have kept him, would he have played first base, and maybe Don Mattingly would have been a right fielder. So
and we also had Jose Rio in our minor league system at one point. He was a solid pitcher for the Reds for some years.
Yeah, that's when when George was, used to panic, because the interesting thing is they had Jose Rio, who was the youngest pitcher in the major leagues, and the Yankees had Phil Negro, who was the oldest pitcher in the major leagues. And I think a game or two, Negro was a winning pitcher, and Rio come in and save the game.
Wow. I could still remember that game with Negro when the umpire searched him and he tried tossing the stuff he had in his back pocket. He was stuffing the ball.
Well, they had both of them there for a while. They had Phil Negro, the Yankees, and they had Joe Negro. Yeah, the Negro brothers. And they pitched well for the Yankees, but Toronto was always just a little bit better.
Yeah. Which Negro got the 300 wins? Was it Phil Negro?
Yeah, Phil won his 300th game. The last day of the season, he beat Toronto, because the day before the Yankees got eliminated, they had like 98 wins that year. They got eliminated, and Doyle Alexander beat them, who was with the Yankees earlier in the year, and then the Jays picked him up.
Yeah, but you're right about the Toronto team. They had some great talent on that team.
Yeah, they were loaded, and they didn't have the wild card back then, and the Yankees had outstanding teams, but Toronto was just a game or two better, and it was frustrating back then. But the Orioles were good too, and when George would panic, I mean, he wouldn't keep the young guys. They had Doug Drabeck, and they had a couple of their guys. I can't remember, like Rio, like you mentioned, and they couldn't. George wouldn't give any of them a shot.
No, we scored the most runs in the '80s, but yet we only had one World Series appearance, and that was in '81.
Yeah, it was '81 and '80. They lost to the Royals in the playoffs when they got swept by the Royals, and George fired everybody.
I tell you though, G. Michael did a hell of a job when George was suspended for those few years.
Well, I mean, if they want to, the Yankees, they could put 100 people in Monument Park, but Stick Michael definitely deserves a special mention in Yankee history, because he was the real deal.
Yeah.
And he was a solid shortstop with the Yankees, and then he was the manager, scout, exec. He did it all, GM, and he deserves a lot of credit. I mean, he did a fantastic job.
And when we were talking about Munson a few weeks ago, it was Gene Michael and George Steinbrenner who made the calls to all the players to inform them what happened.
Yeah, that's got to be that's a heartbreaking task. I mean, who'd want to go through that? That's something that's with you forever.
But it shows you how important he was to George and the organization.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the same, Robert. He used to, at spring training, he'd always sit in the stands.
Yeah.
And you could go over and talk to him like we're talking now. He was just so down to earth. He was just a really, a good person and a great baseball guy.
Yeah, and when did he pass?
He passed away a few years ago. I think it was in July and August. And the interesting thing, Robert, I seen him at a Tampa Yankee game in April, and we were talking about the time he beat Gus Johnson, who played with the Bullets, one-on-one. And Gus Johnson was a great NBA player, and Stick was a great basketball player too. But we were having a nice chat about that, and then when you heard 3 months later he passed away, it's just a terrible thing. Because
I love the nick. I love the nickname, Stick.
Yeah, because back then, he was like 6'3", and he only weighed maybe 180 pounds. But when you went to Yankee Stadium and you just seen him, he looked like so much bigger than the other players. He was a lot taller than Roy White and Thurman and Bobby Mercer. And when he just looked, he looked huge, but he had a bony arm. And I remember he's like, he was a stick. And I remember I had one of these game bats. And his game bat, it felt like something Babe Ruth would use.
No kidding.
It had a big barrel and a big handle, and I don't know how the hell he swung it.
Jesus Christ. That's like I remember when in '95 when the Yankees made the playoffs as a wild card. I was there at the entrance watching the players come in, and I watched the Yankees come in. But then when Seattle showed up, I couldn't get over the size of the Seattle players compared to the Yankees. I mean, some of the players for the Mariners were huge, like Buhner, Griffey. I mean, Martinez. I mean, those guys were just big. I mean, they a lot more bigger in person than they were on TV. I couldn't get over it.
Yeah, and didn't the Mariners have Jeff Nelson at that time too?
Yeah. He was a great pitcher. Yeah, he was huge for the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, when he'd get in the game, I never seen a ball move so much.
Yeah, he almost had like a sidearm type delivery, right? Like 3/4, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, his ball just had a natural movement, and when he was on, he was almost impossible to hit.
Yeah, and he looked intimidating on the mound too.
Yeah, and I mean, he still looks the same way now. He still looks like he could go out there and pitch. Yeah.
So what are you looking for this week?
Well, the thing is, Robert, I just hope just continue to play good baseball. They got a 10-game lead with 40 games to go. Just play. You play the good teams. Do no worse than a split, and then if they just stay around 500 against the good teams, and beat up on the bad teams, they should win. Who knows, 105, 106 games, and they could coast in the playoffs, and then you get to October, and it don't mean a damn thing.
Yeah, because I see we got 4 games left with Boston, 3 with Toronto, actually 6 with Toronto, and 2 with Tampa Bay, and that's the rest. That's all the games we have left in our division. Well,
it'll be fun to watch the Blue Jays because they got a lot of young talent.
Yeah, and you're right. Come postseason, the team that worries me is Houston. I think we can make it, past the first round, but I think we'll be seeing Houston again. Yeah, I mean. It all gets down to who plays better that day, but you just don't know. I mean, that's why you watch the games. So who knows? I mean, the Astros could lose in the first round too, and so could the Yankees. Yeah. It should be interesting. I mean, because the last time they faced each other, the Yankees couldn't hit in Houston, and Houston couldn't hit in New York. Yeah.
Well, when you score 3 runs in 4 games, and the Yankees had they lost the game 2-1, and all the games were close.
Yeah.
But they just couldn't get that big hit.
It will be interesting though to see the Yankees roster considering the injuries. Because I don't think Encarnacion will be back, and who knows what's really wrong with Hicks's elbow. I mean, we could have a who knows what our lineup will look like come postseason.
Yeah, I mean, your roster for the first round could be completely different from the second round. I mean, they'll have a lot of guys down here at Himes, working out in case they have to call them up, if they have injuries. They probably will. They've had them all year.
Yeah. Well, the same time next week, Jack?
Yeah, hopefully, the good times will keep on coming.
Oh, yeah. Let's check to see what we are. Yeah, in our last 10 games, we're 8-2. So we're playing great baseball. Hopefully it continues.
Yeah, it's been great so far.
Okay, Jack. Well, this has been fun.
Well, it's always a pleasure, Robert, and we'll talk next week.
Sounds good. Have a good one out there, everyone.